online at 560theanswer.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag.
My next guest is a very, very, very essential reporter in a time when few are. He's a former reporter for Breitbart News, New York Times bestselling co-author of Conform. He's also the founder of The Midwesterner. Now is a special correspondent for Town Hall, who has written some fantastic works and has an entire investigation by Town Hall dedicated to just the insanity we put up with for 4 years under the illegitimate dimwit in diapers called Biden. His name is Kyle Olson. Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Kyle, it's almost unimaginable when you think about the magnitude of the illegal alien situation under one president. And I say this to you from being lucky enough to grow up at a time when America was different. It was a much better place in the 70s and 80s. But from a neighborhood outside of Chicago, just west of Chicago, which was a hub for illegal aliens back then. But back then, no one qualified for benefits. No one qualified for much of anything, and they had to work almost immediately on becoming legal. They might have gotten here illegal, but almost immediately working to get credentials and the rest of it. So it was a different time among character of our nation. And back then, they used to say there are 13 million illegal aliens. I'm going back to the late 70s. This time under Biden, I believe it has to be closer to 20 in just the 4 years. But how do you know when you have these sanctuary areas to hide and get all the benefits? And the sickest and saddest part is how you incentivize the cartel members to come with kids that were not their own. We have no idea how many kids are here, do we?
No, and so then when the Trump administration realized how children were being exploited, they were separating the child from the adult, and then the Democrats turned that into they're separating families. But the reality of the situation is that cartels knew that Americans have sympathy for children, and so they were exploiting, they were trafficking children in order to get illegal aliens across the border.
And we, unfortunately, are living among a time that also has changed rapidly since I was lucky enough to be a kid. There seems to be a normalization of sexualizing kids. Have you, I mean, when you step back, I don't know how old you are, but when you step back and you look at how we are, in fact, introducing tiny kids, first graders, second graders, third graders, to sex, to sexual orientation, this has to be part of the biggest plan to sexualize and normalize pedophiles. That's how I feel about it. But I'm from Chicago. We grew up with these scoundrels, the Podestas, the Chicago Democrats. They were guilty of this for decades. So I believe it's a bigger plan. After your investigation, do you see it that way?
Well, I'll just say I'm 47, so I grew up in the sort of the late 80s and 90s, graduated in the late 90s. But I don't remember anything like this, and I don't remember a classroom where a teacher felt it was they had the authority to tell children about their personal sexual preferences. I mean, that is a bizarre, completely unacceptable situation, and that has become normalized in our schools. And think about a situation where you have the cartels exploiting children and the Biden administration and Alejandro Mayorkas tolerating this. And they can't tell us they don't know. They didn't know that this was going on because it was absolutely abysmal. And I mean, here's a few stats for you. In President Trump's final year of his first term in office, so basically, 2020, there were 15,000 unaccompanied alien children that came across the border. In the following year, it went from 15,000 to 122,000. And then it went to, and that was the peak year. 2022 was the peak year, 128,000. And what these videos that I obtained and wrote about at townhall.com shows is that the system of managing these children was not equipped. And the Biden administration clearly didn't care. And what these individuals that are in these videos, what people see if they go to townhall.com and look at these videos, what they'll see is individuals who worked for a lot of these agencies, whether it was nonprofits that got federal money or it was the federal agencies, just absolute horror stories about how kids were being sold by their parents. Kids were being left in hotel rooms in Midtown Manhattan while the parents went out and worked or prostituted themselves. The final story in the 4-part series, we actually, I exposed the fact that there was a sex trafficking operation right in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, literally between NBC and Fox News.
Oh my God.
And so what people need to understand is that these are absolutely brazen, craven people who will exploit children, exploit migrants and people that are vulnerable in order to get their way. And they're so brazen that they will do it in Midtown Manhattan, right in between two of the largest media companies in the world.
So I have to tell you, this goes hand in glove with the sanctuary areas. I have the benefit of not being forced anymore to live in a sanctuary area. And the different approach that everybody from the media to the sheriff to the police of the municipality to the state, the difference between Florida and Illinois is night and day when it comes to illegal aliens, but specifically pedophiles and sex acts with kids. I believe that these areas, such as the one you described in New York City, in Chicago, in California, it is very easy to be a sex trafficker. It is very easy to be a pedophile. The retribution, the arrests are infinitesimal compared to so many of the other states. So in a way, these politicians of these sanctuary areas, they lured this problem in a certain extent from the beginning. But has your investigation turned up a more nefarious act of cooperation? And I'll say this because everybody knows in these areas of sanctuary who the cartel members are. So this idea that they were able to hire cartel members and they just brought them to all of a sudden you're a travel agency. You're Apple Vacations now. And our idiots like Mayorkas and the Democrats, are their victims too? And how much of this traces back to some call her vice president, I prefer office tramp or Willie Brown side action. Kamala Harris taking $1.5 billion and going into the third world of Central and South America and all of a sudden creating this parabolic problem that came after she did the Don't Come tour, which is ironic.
Well, to me, one of the absolute most shocking things that people will see in these videos is one of these agency workers talking about a lot of these agencies were based in New York, so it was sort of a New York-centric story. But one of the examples was that you remember it was the Roosevelt Hotel in particular, yes, in New York City, and the worker that was in the video talked about how National Guard members were actually having sex with the migrants, and the reason that was happening was because the migrants wanted to get pregnant, because if they were pregnant, they could stay. So
National Guard workers. You mean boy, that could mean a bunch of different, right? Because if it's National Guard service members, well, these are privates and these are unvetted 18, 19-year-olds. But is this going to be one of these scandals that was squashed under the Obama years when his own Secret Service, when the upper echelon, Clinton's attaché, were all having sex with children. That was swept under the rug from you could say the Clinton years, but the Biden or Obama years really squashed a lot of these sex scandals. My question really is it the upper echelon of the guys in the offices, or is it the guys that just got out of boot camp for the National Guard?
Well, we don't know. I mean, my guess is it's probably the latter. But one of the other examples that one of the people said that was in the videos, she said that, and she named names of Biden administration officials who were manipulating reports. Because if you go back to 21 and 22, the Congress was asking questions, and they were holding hearings, and they were saying, what is going on? And now we're finding out that the Biden administration was actually manipulating reports to sort of gloss things over, just make it, let's just underplay what's really going on. And so, but the reality is children, migrants were just living through horror in America because the Biden administration welcomed everyone in. If you go back to that time, Mayorkas said the border is closed, but then he took a breath and he said, but if any children come across, we'll take care of them.
Yes.
Well, what do you think that means?
It was a dog whistle to scumbags.
Correct. And so it was just one horror after another. And the Biden administration, there's no doubt in my mind, they knew that this was going on. I don't know what their ultimate objective is. I think it probably had something to do with the fundamental transformation of America that Obama talked about. But it's increasing the voter rolls and all of that. But the bottom line is people came to America being told they would have a better life, being lied to by the Biden administration, and then they were treated like this. And so to me, this scandal, and you can read about it at townhall.com. This scandal should be Joe Biden's legacy. This should be how Americans remember him, that he opened the doors to 448,000 unaccompanied alien children, and then this is how they were treated.
And what else is I believe that the future will be extremely harsh to Joe Biden, and they should be, because this is the beauty of being a little bit, almost a decade older than you. I remember when Joe Biden was laughed off stage in the 80s when he was just a plagiarist moron from Delaware, the most corrupt state outside of Chicago. And I said Chicago specifically because this is, we made it an art form here. But Delaware was always a punchline, and Joe Biden was a punchline. And what you have here is also the reality. Last March, a month ago, there were 0 encounters at the border. Trump shuts down the border immediately. So the proof is in the pudding. Immediately shuts down the border. This absolutely worked with cooperation, if not incentivizing through the Biden administration. And this is why I'm wondering, did your investigation lead to these fraud entities called NGOs, which when you and I were young, who ever heard of an NGO? Now you realize it's part of policy money, and hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars go into funding this, where we have the Underground Railroad. I mean, after all, Catholic Charities can't do it on their own, but they're involved in this as well, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and they need to be investigated because there were, again, when there was just this rush of children, these agencies were trying to keep up, which of course meant standards were dropped. Some of the individuals in these videos talked about how the vetting process went lax to the point where they knowingly were giving children, because the way this is supposed to work is that if an unaccompanied alien child comes across the border, they are supposed to be reunited with the parent or given to an aunt or uncle or some other relative. Well, they weren't necessarily doing that, and some of these workers that are in these videos were talking about how kids were given TEL members, and there was one instance where a child was living in a factory and working, actually physically living in the factory, working in the factory, because they had to pay their debt back to the cartel for getting them through the Mexico desert. So this is what was happening during the Biden years.
It's fascinating too, Kyle. If you just step back and you look at all of the things that we know and we've been around, not just the Podestas, but the Clintons and the rest of it, and you look at the Epstein and you find out through some of the stuff that were released. They're all the Democrats, from Reid Hoffman to Bill Gates and they thought this would be Trump. And I didn't like Trump. And you know why I didn't like Trump in the beginning? He used to hang around with Democrats. I believe me, I love him today. I give him a big kiss. I can't wait to hug him. I was lucky enough to shake his hand. But the reality is, we quietly understood the kind of normalization of all kinds of offenses and corruption. But this may be the sickest of them all. And this is why these areas that are sanctuary, they should all, everybody who votes this way and everybody who operated this, they should all be charged with, as unindicted co-conspirators to the cartel child human trafficking ring that has been flourishing in just a handful of years. It's just despicable. I mean, I can't wait to go through all three of these. But I'm wondering, was there ever a point where you had to take a break and turn it off and say, I got to get something to drink?
Well, when the worker that was being that's in the video, the premise is she's sitting with someone and they're eating, and these workers they're eating salads, talking about children being sold by their parents.
Oh.
Or they're eating a salad, talking about how the National Guardsmen are having sex with the minor children in hotels in Midtown Manhattan. And it's just happening. Like, it's just normalized.
Remember
and
when?
I think to myself,
go ahead.
And I just think to myself, is this what was happening in Joe Biden's America? And where was the media? Where was the mainstream media looking out? They supposedly care so much about children and immigrants. Where were they when this scandal was going on?
Well, I've named them the East German Department of Agitation and Propaganda, because that's exactly what they do. And I love the fact that you, who has been doing this for Breitbart. I mean, how long ago have you started on this track of exposing the scum in America?
Well, 20 years, probably. I started in 2007. And I was, at that time, I was talking about Bill Ayers and his, and how he changed. He went to the University of Michigan. I live in Michigan. I went to Michigan State, by the way. But he went to the University of Michigan, and he realized he couldn't change politics one person at a time. He had to affect children, and he had to affect how kids were learning. And so he started targeting teachers, and specifically teacher colleges. Yeah. And this has been going on for decades. And so I've been covering and exposing a lot of this for a long time.
Well, this is beautiful, because I'm aware that you started the Midwesterner. You're the founder of the Midwesterner. But everything is Chicago. Everything. This is where the mafia understood it could really operate if it had a veil of a political agenda. And Bill Ayers is a particular scumbag terrorist, and his ugly wife. But never forget, trust fund baby. His father was the GE CEO, right? Wasn't it GE?
That's right.
Yeah. So I saw him a handful of years ago, 10 years ago, on the Eisenhower, driving a Mercedes S sedan, 580. And I'm yelling out of my window like a typical Melrose Park punk. Hey, moron. I actually scared him off the Eisenhower. I've done a lot of stuff in my life, but that is clearly in my top three, because he took that Cloward Piven strategy, and he's the one who launched that fraud, Barack Obama. And when you look at them, when you were around them, they all have that effeminate twist, that effeminate, sick twist. And this is clearly a part of that common denominator. I felt this way years ago when I would meet the Daily Crime Syndicate. All of those side saddle, short in the pants guys, they all had that effeminate twist. There's a certain kind of evil that sexualizes children. There really is. And one of the blessings of Chicago is, at least there were neighborhoods like mine, where if you even heard of a pedophile, you would think somebody went deer hunting. They'd be strapped to the hood of a Buick. So I appreciate the fact that you wrote and exposed this, and I hope I get the good fortune to shake your hand. In the meantime, we go to townhall.com, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Kyle Olson, thank you so much for your reporting and then making time for me. Second, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll be back with your calls and comments.
This is the Shaun Thompson Show, where Democrats are always wrong, Republicans are seldom right, and politicians are never, ever to be trusted. On AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Give me an extra large deep dish with sausage and green peppers.